Welcome everybody. Delighted to have you all here with us this afternoon at this session on sharing the ambition. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined this afternoon by Charlotte Bowes, an early years teacher working in the city of Edinburgh, and her colleagues Gillian Christie, Gemma Jeffrey and Vary Ritchie. They've produced a fabulous video that we're going to share with you, and we, fingers crossed, all being well, we'll have time for some questions at the end. Just before we start the session off with you though this afternoon, can I remind you all that this session is being recorded, so if you don't want to be included in the recording, please switch off your cameras. We're going to ask you to keep your microphones on mute throughout the session, but we have the chat pane facility available in this afternoon's session. So if you have any questions at any point during the presentation, please do pop them in the chat pane and we'll attempt to answer them at the end of this afternoon's session. If we're not able to do that, what Charlotte and our colleagues have very kindly offered to do is to join us on Twitter following this afternoon's session, so we can come back to those questions that we'll have captured from the chat and answer them over the next few days or so. At the end of the session, if you do have any questions, the other thing that you can do is to raise your hand. Now, you'll have seen from that opening slide that we have that we're using the hashtag SLF online, all one word, for the whole of the Scottish Learning Festival this year. And we also have a very specific hashtag for this afternoon's session, which is hashtag sharing the ambition, all one word. So for those of you who like to use social media to tweet about your sessions, we'd be delighted if you could use those hashtags. So I think without further ado, and if you're ready for it, Charlotte, I'll pop on the video. So here we go. Fingers crossed everything will work okay for us. Oops. Sorry, colleagues, you're going to get a video without any sound if I don't just fix this quickly for you.
My name is Charlotte Bowes. I'm a PT1 teacher based in Edinburgh, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you today about my passion for play and my current research project, Sharing the Ambition. Sharing the Ambition first took roots when I was asked to write a blog for the Scottish Educators Connect network, detailing my experiences of moving from a traditional to a more play-based learning environment. It continued with a play policy for my P1 class, detailing the changes that were being made to our learning environment to share them with families. It developed with my master's dissertation, which aimed to reflect and unpick parental perceptions towards play, and to discover exactly what families hope for their children's early years education. And finally, Sharing the Ambition was born when I won the BCF Curriculum Investigation Grant from BERA, the British Educational Research Association. My application sought to act upon the data and put the theory into practice. We started with the families, their ideas, their thoughts and their experiences, and went from there. Sharing the Ambition aspires to be a practical and hands-on approach to ensuring that high-quality play is facilitated and valued at home. It's aimed at Scottish families with children attending an early years setting and has been co-developed as part of the research grant with educational staff and families. A year on, and we've managed to turn this co-development into the most amazing learning community. For this presentation, we'll be looking at sharing the ambition through the lens of the GTCS Standards for Career-Long Professional Learning to discuss three key themes: communication, collaboration, and community. We can't cover the whole Sharing the Ambition project in just 45 minutes, so please use the QR codes to read more about each section of the research and resource. We have also built in different opportunities to put the doodles down so that you can get involved with our presentation, as well as a challenge per chapter so that you can start sharing the ambition in your own setting. We would absolutely love it if you could interact with the team on Twitter using hashtag sharing the ambition or @MissCBose throughout too. First up, I will hand you over to Mary for her focus on play.
Hello, my name is Barry Ritchie and I'm a Development Officer in Edinburgh. I was delighted to be part of the Sharing the Ambition project, and as Charlotte said, I'm going to be talking about play. Children enter nursery or school as active protagonists in their own learning. They know what they want to learn about and will happily set about their environment, engaging in activities that meet their individual needs and interests. Help to build confidence in their own abilities. Children engaged in play feel loved, happy and safe. Play experiences develop physical skills, social skills, language, empathy. I could go on. Affording children this time for self-exploratory play is not just a nice thing to do until the real learning starts. It is essential. It is the real learning. It can't just be skipped. In the Upstart book Play is the Way, psychologist Dr. Pam Jarvis tells us that if the teaching approach for our 4, 5 and 6-year-olds is too adult-led and children's brains are packed with too much adult-centric information, then the child's developing brain can't decipher what the important bits are. Crucially, they are often unable to connect this new information to something they already know. This process is harmful to their cognitive architecture and therefore future learning. Neuroscientists have discovered that self-initiated play, on the other hand, supports the development of the executive functions of the brain, working memory, inhibitory control, and mental flexibility. Executive functioning skills are crucial building blocks for the early development of both cognitive and social capacities. I'd highly recommend the evidence and research section of Upstart Scotland's website for links for more of the science. As many of you will now know, there was new national practice guidance for early years in Scotland published in February 2020. The document, Realising the Ambition Being Me, aspires to making Scotland the best place for children to grow up in and learn. With the early level of Curriculum for Excellence reaching to the end of P1, there aims to be a consistency between practice in nursery and in early primary school. It is our role as practitioners to ensure the environment we provide facilitates our children's play to take their learning forward. When we talk about our environment, we are considering 3 areas. Spaces. We support learning by offering a variety of interesting spaces indoors and outdoors. Experiences. We aim to provide rich learning opportunities, striking a balance between child-initiated, adult-initiated, and adult-directed experiences. Interactions. Stepping in to support children as needed, for example, to extend their thinking or model behaviours. We'd now like you to put the doodles down and take a minute or two to get involved and think about how you would define play. Simply scan the QR code to visit the Mentimeter presentation and add your word or phrase to our interactive word cloud. You can do this at the same time as we continue the presentation. Observations, observations, observations. As practitioners, we know how important it is to observe our children. Watching them play tells us so much. What they know, what they can do, what their next steps in learning are, the things they like, the things they dislike, and so on. We can adapt the learning environment using the information we collect during these observations. We can see that children wallowing their play are hard at work. However, knowing that play is the way young children learn is not something that comes naturally to everyone. It is well documented that much of society holds the traditional skill-driven educational approach in high esteem, and this is not something that can be changed overnight. School educators are increasingly recognising the relationship between playing, learning, growing, developing, being healthy and happy. But as we know, parents play a critically important role in their child's early education, and many parents still expect their children to be taught the 3 R's sitting at a desk. As you have heard, the project's objective is to support parents and carers to provide high-quality play experiences at home. To do this, we wanted to support them to deepen their own understanding of play. We wanted to share the ambition. Firstly, the members of the Working Party made play observations and documented them to make the learning happening through play more tangible to parents and carers. We used Play Scotland's 16 play types, as a framework. Play Scotland's Play Types Toolkit describes play types as the different behaviours we can see when children are playing. Of course, there is overlap between the types, but this is a useful categorisation and complements the belief that for every aspect of children's development, there is a form of play. For instance, creative, exploratory, mastery and object play help children to learn about the physical world. They learn about their body and its limits by engaging in rough and tumble play and locomotor play. Observations were made for each play type. This example will hopefully give you an idea of the observations that were shared on the website to give parents an idea of the many faces of play. I'm sure the image will resonate with many of you as a wonderful illustration of symbolic play. I think it's one of my favourite types when the play possibilities are endless. Don't have a frozen fairy castle? No problem. We'll use this table and wood to create one. We wanted to help parents and carers to view this sort of scenario as a wonderful learning opportunity rather than a mess to be tidied away. In this example, the stimuli were a tough tray with a winter theme and a tinker table. The girls developed their own ideas by making their own ice remotes using wood and pins. Their ice remotes would have the power to freeze things. Later on, they created their own frozen fairy castle using the loose parts available, complete with pets and ice crystals. Parents, carers and other interested parties are able to click on the different icons in the image. They are given information about the children's actions and words, links to the Curriculum for Excellence early level E's and O's, and also given details about the significance of this type of play. In this case, we learn that engagement in symbolic play is highly correlated to language development, i.e. the better the child's ability to play representationally, the better the child's language skills. I think you'll agree this is a fabulous resource for anyone wanting to learn more about play. From the parental surveys, we learned that parents were keen for activity ideas that they could enjoy at home with their children. A year and a day of play calendar is the second element I will tell you about, which aim to offer hands-on practical activity suggestions that families could do at home to develop high-quality play environments, spaces, experiences and interactions. Again, aiming to share the ambition. Here is the Earth Day example. Parents and carers can click on the icons which will lead them to various playful ideas. In this instance, there are opportunities to share books together, make shadow puppets, family activity ideas to mark Earth Hour, and all using everyday resources to show that learning happens everywhere and that it is for everyone. There is also information about how each activity links to the early level curriculum. We know that the attitudes of adults towards play have a crucial impact. We hope to have built a learning community by communicating the way children learn through play. When parents and carers understand and value play, they're more able to recognise the benefits for their children, such as developing motor skills and learning empathy. Essentially, through collaboration, our families will feel more confident in their knowledge and be more skilled in providing a suitable play environment. Here's your first challenge to begin sharing the ambition at your setting. Start simple with a team catch-up to agree your vision for your setting. Discuss why play is important and what you hope to achieve. Have high expectations when you set your long-term goals, but make your short-term objectives clear and measurable and your short-term targets realistic and achievable. You can scan the QR code to use the template for strategic planning seen in the slide here. Now I'll hand you over to Charlotte for her discussions on phase 1.
Thank you, Mary. I'm now going to briefly outline how phase 1, data collection and analysis, enabled us to build positive, rights-respecting relationships for learning. Relationships not just with Scottish families, but with the children and staff at our settings too, to create 3 unique yet interconnecting learning communities. We put in a lot of research behind the scenes to ensure that every stakeholder felt safe, valued and included during their participation in the project. During my Masters, I identified working independently as a limitation. So my first step in sharing the ambition was to create a working party from a small but demographically diverse cluster of schools within Edinburgh. Together, we employed a mixed method approach using an initial family survey to dig deeper into parental perceptions towards play, an initial early years staff survey to understand the current approaches to family engagement and involvement at different settings, and follow-up focus groups to gather the detailed qualitative results that can be missed in surveys. In the hopes of addressing a second limitation for my Masters, poor survey response rate, every aspect of the survey design, format and content was researched too. For example, when considering the survey design, 4 aspects of participant response, comprehension, retrieval, judgment and answer, were used to inform every decision we made, in the hopes of limiting both the implicit and explicit contributions to the discussion that researchers can make. We considered both the linguistic and aesthetic components of the survey to ensure that participation was enjoyable and accessible for all participants, sensitive to every family's unique context and experiences. With our surveys, we set out to answer 4 broad questions. What do families hope their child will achieve through early years education? How do families believe their child learns best? What role do families believe they should play in their child's early years education? And how can we, the working party, support high quality family interest in our settings? The content of the survey questions and predetermined answer choices were also informed systematically by extensive research to ensure that each question could be considered a valid and reliable measure. At this point, an initial survey draft was shared with the working party, discussed and amended according to their unique experiences and the individual contexts of their settings. This was our first task as a working party and our first opportunity to learn from each other. All discussions, along with all of the research already covered, in fact, every aspect of sharing the ambition, has been openly and transparently shared on the website blog. This conscious choice was made not only to ensure the research's trustworthiness, but also for sharing the process with all stakeholders, both families, early years staff, and the wider educational community, in the hopes that this regular communication would help to build the relational trust that's required for parental engagement and involvement strategies and initiatives like sharing the ambition to prove successful. Our surveys were then translated into Polish and Arabic by 2 of my wonderful colleagues to address a further limitation of my Masters and improve survey accessibility for all families. We're now going to play a quick 4-question game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to see if you can guess a few of the results from our family and staff surveys. First up, question 1. What do you think is the answer? Which statement best describes our family's views on play? A. Play is more important at home. B. Play is more important at a child's early years setting. C. Play is equally important in both. Or D. Play is not important at all. Families value play equally at their child's home and early years setting. Question 2. Which of these characteristics do you think families chose as most important for their child to develop through their early years education? A. Kindness. B. Curiosity. C. Self-discipline. Or D. Independence. Families preferred kindness. Question 3. Do you think families and staff agree about children's early learning environments, spaces, experiences, and interactions? A. No. Families preferred a traditional approach, while staff preferred an all-play approach. B. No. Families preferred an all-play approach, while staff preferred a combination of all-play and traditional. C. Yes, they both agreed that a traditional approach was best. Or D, yes, they agreed both staff and families preferred a combination approach. The answer is D. Both preferred a combination of all play and traditional elements. And finally, which of these factors do you think our staff placed as most important in impacting upon a child's early years education? A, the relationships at the setting. B, relationships at home. C, the settings learning and teaching, or D, learning and teaching at home. Staff thought that the settings relationship had most impact. Please use hashtag Sharing the Ambition on Twitter to let us know if there were any shocks and surprises in the results that we have just shared. It was decided that the survey results would undergo codebook thematic analysis, chosen for its ability to analyse culture through the identification of key themes. You can read more about the a priori approach we took in producing the codebook, the revisions that were made throughout the analysis process to improve its reliability, our line-by-line coding, and the final codebook, including high-frequency buzzwords and encapsulating quotes from the survey and focus group results, all on our website. All you have to do is scan the QR codes. To promote, develop, and sustain the positive relationships that we have started in our surveys, we asked for volunteers to participate in follow-up focus groups for families and staff to dig deeper into any significant findings that emerged from the codebook thematic analysis. From our data collection and analysis, we identified 3 key themes to take forward: family learning, communication, and play. Every aspect of the Sharing the Ambition plan from phase 1 onwards was informed by our families. This was something we thought was really important to make explicit for our families, so that they understood just how valuable their contributions were. So we introduced a You Said, We Did feature on the website. In terms of taking the phase 1 theory into practice, we decided to pursue 2 avenues for improving parental engagement and involvement. First, for 2, a case study-like approach to improving communication between families and their early years settings. And for phase 3, an interactive website resource detailing a play-based approach to family learning at home. Interested in learning more about the play perceptions of your families, children, and staff? Why not try our second takeaway challenge and use the Sharing the Ambition surveys in your own setting to find out what your families, staff, and children have to say? You can then use the results to flesh out the strategic plan that you created during our first takeaway challenge, the Team Chinwag. I'll now pass you over to Gemma, who's going to tell you more about phase 2.
Thank you. As Charlotte has just said, I'm going to talk a little bit about phase 2 of Sharing the Ambition, which involved the working party members undertaking practitioner inquiries in the hopes to improve communication between families and settings. I'd like to mention how this links to the GTCS Standards 2.1.2 and how it helped me successfully complete the SKEL endorsed Education Scotland Teacher Leadership Programme. Part of the Standard 2.1.2 is to have an enhanced and critically informed understanding of how to access and apply relevant findings from educational research and contribute to research knowledge in areas of interest. And if the working party have one thing in common, it's our passion for play. We're all knowledgeable about play and the research undertaken to prove its value, both research undertaken by the early childhood philosophers, including Froebel and Maria Montessori, to current policy and guidance found in realising the ambition and building the curriculum too. Using this research, we had all previously embarked on our play journeys to ensure the children in our settings are in enabling environments that empower them to learn academically and also social and emotional skills. But between us, this passion and shared knowledge allowed us to build our own wee learning community. And we can bounce ideas off each other, share new research, and ask for support if we have any issues. We wanted to share our passion for play and how this is implemented in our setting with the families of the children that we teach. From the staff and family survey results, one key theme emerged, and that was communication. Families wanted a greater level of communication between us and them, and so our practitioner inquiries began to emerge. Each working party member chose a parental engagement strategy based upon improving communication. As you know, teachers are a very creative bunch, and our engagement strategies range from creating weekly sway newsletters, using Ask Me About stickers, filming interactive setting tours like the one on screen now, and setting up virtual classrooms. We also made YouTube channels to support learning at home and made learning journals. The aim of these was always to spark conversations, both at home between children and their parents and carers, but also between staff members and families. This was us building learning communities. But we were doing it in a research capacity. By undertaking practitioner inquiries, it allowed us to evaluate the effectiveness of these strategies, which we could then use to inform our own professional practice. More of which I'll talk about in just a minute. I'd like to discuss my own practitioner inquiry in a little bit more detail. The strategy I chose to use to enhance communication between myself and families was Microsoft Teams. I'm sure most of us are familiar with this platform. It is used widely across the City of Edinburgh schools for its many applications and because it passes GDPR regulations. On my class team, I wrote a weekly blog post which had two main aspects. The first was a description of the benefits to the different types of play developed by Bob Hughes, and an example of this is on the screen. The hope was by sharing this information, families would value play as a way of learning and begin to notice the learning taking place at home through play. The second aspect was photographs taken of the children engaging in play within the classroom, with quotes from the children as well. This allowed families to see and hear what their children learnt that week. Being on Teams, it allowed for two-way communication. The parents and carers often wrote back with comments and questions, and they even began to share their own photos. Because I had built this strong learning community between myself and the families, I was actually able to continue my inquiry during lockdown. We still discussed the different play types, and parents and carers would share photos and children's quotes of this taking place at home rather than in school. But to truly engage in this GTCS standard, and for any inquiry to be successful, data needs to be collected and analysed. I gathered both quantitative and qualitative data, including initial survey results, parent responses during our focus groups, pupils' voice and ability to articulate their learning, engagement levels in remote learning, and finally, final survey results. Interestingly, during the January and February lockdown, I had 100% pupil engagement. That was either from pupils attending the hub at school or for being online with me. And that's almost double the level of engagement that I had during the first lockdown in May. I believe one of the reasons for this is because I'd taken the time to build this online learning community. As previously mentioned, undertaking this inquiry helped me successfully complete the SCELL endorsed Education Scotland Teacher Leadership Programme. Here are some of my results from my practitioner inquiry presented in my final poster for the course. The Teacher Leadership Programme opened up another door to another learning community for me. We were encouraged to be reflective practitioners by writing regular posts on a website, which we could then comment to one another, giving each other encouragement and suggestions for further development. I feel really lucky to have been supported from so many colleagues, not just in my school, not just in Edinburgh, but across Scotland. And I've built strong, positive relationships. Okay, so Doodles down, because we've got a question for you. How likely do you think you are to engage in a practitioner inquiry in the near future? Use our QR code to head over to our Mentimeter, where you can use our interactive slider to share your experience of professional inquiry. These professional learning communities that I've built over this year will continue to grow, and I feel really, really lucky to now call many of these colleagues friends. I highly recommend getting involved in a practitioner inquiry with other people. So why not try it for yourself? It's likely that many of you already have strategies to communicate with families from your setting. However, do you know how effective these are? Why not undertake a professional inquiry investigating this? You could collect data on the number of families who receive and read your communications. You could ask for family opinions on how this could be improved upon, or set up communication strategies to include pupil voice, which could then be evaluated over time to track progress. Returning to our two avenues for improving parental engagement and involvement, phase 3, the second prong, is an interactive website detailing a play-based approach to family learning. Here's Gillian to tell you a bit more about it.
Thanks, Gemma. I am now going to take you through our family zone. Framed around our key theme of family learning, we have created the Sharing the Ambition Family Zone, our one-stop shop for all things play. Before I share it with you, we'll first look at how it links in with our professional standards. The GTCS Standard 2.2.2 to have an understanding of local and wider learning communities and how to draw on these to enrich learning experiences for every learner. The Family Zone demonstrates this as a resource that has been accessed all over Scotland by a wide range of learning communities. It has allowed us to establish and sustain positive relationships not only among our working party members who have virtually came together from councils all over Scotland and through our love of play, working alongside staff, families and children in our settings have enabled us to create the Family Zone that will enrich play opportunities for our learners. The Family Zone was created to help answer 3 of the main questions that families were found to ask during our surveys. Why is play important? What can play look like? How can I play at home? The Family Zone was launched in March for a month-long trial for our families to use. Before we dive into the current content of the Family Zone, thinking about those 3 questions we're aiming to answer, what would you like to see on the staff pages? Scan the QR code to return to the Mentimeter presentation so you can add your thoughts, ideas and suggestions to contribute to the Sharing the Ambition resource. What can we do to support your play journey? It could be to discuss a Family Zone resource, to get involved with our working party, or something else. We'd really love to hear from you. Let's start with the why. The why shares the rationale and research behind championing a play-based approach. It includes quotes from inspirational play practitioners about the value of play, frequently asked questions section busting the most common play myths and misconceptions, a summary of the research in the form of 10 reasons to play, and videos of children, families and staff explaining what play means to them. Here is a little video showing why we think play is important.
Play is exciting, curious and full of awe and wonder. Play is learning, it should not be underestimated.
Play is just fun.
Play is the beginning of knowledge. It is essential for learning. It sparks curiosity, imagination and joy.
What do you think? Why is play important to you and your families? The what offers families the tools of observations to unpick their child's behaviour as they join their play, framed around realising the ambition in terms of understanding their children's actions. For March, this focused on the family-friendly links to Play Scotland's Playtypes toolkit, based upon Bob Hughes's work. In the future, though, we also plan to offer observations of realising the ambition schema, Sobel's principles of outdoor learning, and Frobel's gifts and occupations. By using the Play Scotland Playtypes as a starting point, all working party members used play observations from their settings to show what the children were doing. To make the theory more tangible, each individual playtype was linked to an observation of play from one of the working party members. In each, the practitioner has captured their observation of the learning and the child's voice, while linking back to the early level curriculum as a means to prove the power of play. Here's a look at mastery play. It outlines what that might look like, from digging holes to demolition and construction, explaining to our families the skills gained from this play type and its benefits, showing our families through one play observation how rich an experience it is. Please scan the QR code to see more of our play observations. Now we'll look at the how section. The how section of the Family Zone was designed to inspire families with the practical hands-on ideas to introduce more play into their family life. The how focuses around an interactive calendar called A Year and a Day of Play, where families can dip into resources to inspire play-based interactions and experiences with their children. The resources will link to each day's individual celebration, like National Bagpipe Day, International Women's Day, Earth Hour, or Craft Month, with the hopes of increasing families' confidence in using play for family learning at home. By also having a resource of the month using everyday items such as a cardboard box, which I'm sure you all know the joy children have from a simple box, we wanted the resource to be accessible by offering ideas with everyday items. To see March's play calendar, please scan the QR code. Not forgetting, we also offered a Peril of Wisdom play document to offer some of the advice different stakeholders, staff and families wish somebody had shared with them along their own play journey. Following this March trial, we have been seeking feedback from families and staff to improve the provision, with our main focus being to identify and understand any barriers to engaging with the resource from a diverse range of families, ensuring that every family's experiences are considered. Going forward, we intend to create several family focus groups that can meet regularly to trial each element of the provision. This will include one-to-one sessions for families that could benefit most from engagement with the family zone. Please take the time to explore our family zone further. Now it's time for takeaway challenge number 3. To get you started, think about your settings play strategy and the views of your families. To start simple and small with a thing link of a play observation and share the magic of the play with your families. Next up is Charlotte to tell you more about the future of the working party.
Thank you, Gillian. For phase 2 and 3 of the project, we extended the working party and sent an open call to practitioners from across Scotland, inviting them to participate. At one point, we had 21 members facilitating different elements of every phase, including management, support staff, teachers, and development officers, contributing a whole range of expertise and a wealth of experiences. We'll take a brief pause here before talking about the experiences of our working party members to allow you to ask any questions you might have. Simply scan the QR code and send us your questions anonymously, or ask away on Twitter using #SharingTheAmbition. Here's just a few quotes from our working party members to tell you about their experiences of being part of the Sharing the Ambition team. I have enjoyed meeting like-minded colleagues and sharing ideas across different settings. Another working party member recently said that Sharing the Ambition has been really inspiring and brought me out of my slump and made me realise that there are exciting options of things to do alongside daily teaching. But we're not finished yet. The current and final phase of the BERA project is the rebrand. After the March trial of the family zone that Gillian has discussed with you already, we followed the same steps for phase 1 to create feedback surveys for both families and staff. Results have been limited in number so far, but show a collective stream of thought. The content of the website is great, but further development is needed in terms of its accessibility. We've delayed the launch of the family zone until October. This will give us the opportunity to seek more in-depth feedback from families, both generalised and targeted, to ensure that we cover all range of experiences, perceptions and demographics. The family zone is a resource for families, so we want to make sure that they are involved at every step along the way. Whilst we're still researching the best and most effective means to ensure that this happens, it's likely that we will be creating multiple family focus groups to meet regularly and test each element of the website as it's released. Here's a sneak peek of what we have planned. The family zone will be continuing to answer our 3 main questions. Why is play important? What can play look like? And how can I play at home? This time there will be 2 different ways of accessing the resource, with new sections released every 2 weeks with our feature of the fortnight. First up, you can use the Family Zone as a story, which offers a progression of resources separated into bronze, silver and gold levels. Each level, the content builds upon the skills and knowledge of the previous section. They include summarising newsletters, accompanying printables to keep handy at home, everyday Frobelian play challenges, and opportunities for families to put the theory into practice, get involved, and help to build Sharing the Ambition community. We plan to mimic this progression for staff too, so that they can share the ambition in their own setting with interactive newsletters, setting-based play challenges, and much more. The second means of accessing the Family Zone is shown here, the floor plan, which collates all elements of the resource in one place for families to dip in and out of as they see fit. As each new element is released every fortnight, we plan to run family and staff focus groups simultaneously, with input from children of course too, to review, evaluate and feedback so that we can ensure the provision meets the needs of every stakeholder. And we can ensure that the learning communities we have established continue to flourish and have a real, meaningful impact. So, our final takeaway for the presentation. Why not join the team? There are lots of opportunities to get involved with varying roles, responsibilities and commitments. So please, if you're interested, scan the QR code to send us an email. We would absolutely love to learn from your experiences too. All of our takeaways from today's presentation are available on an interactive ThingLink newsletter that you can download to get started. Please keep us in the loop. There is nothing better than hearing about any and every way, big or small, that you've been inspired by our research. All that's left to do now is ask you to leave your feedback using the QR code, the last task on our Mentimeter. We've stuck with the good old-fashioned format of 2 stars and a wish to keep things quick and easy. A huge, huge thank you for volunteering your precious time to hear more about our learning communities. It has been a real privilege to share the ambition with you.
Charlotte and colleagues, thank you so much for that. I remember the first time I heard the Sharing the Ambition team talking about their work, I was just absolutely blown away by something that started as quite a small practitioner inquiry with one person, grew and grew, and to hear now about the network that you have of teachers and practitioners right across Scotland, I think is absolutely inspiring. And very, I would absolutely endorse your plea to colleagues there to join with you and in this piece of work, but also to think about, what are the opportunities, because this was something that you were really passionate about, that you wanted to take forward, and actually to kind of learn from your success and the network and how you've supported each other, to think about what are the areas of practitioner inquiry that they might want to take forward, and perhaps we might see even more of these professional learning networks sprouting up across Scotland, because it just really is an absolutely inspiring story. So thank you, all of you. I think we've probably got about 1 or 2 minutes before we're likely to be cut off. And I know I wasn't able to see the chat while the video was playing, but did you pick up on any questions that we can respond to at this point?
There didn't seem to be any questions popping up. I know that somebody asked about the Frobelian play challenges. So those are something we're working on for the rebrand. Hopefully just giving families everyday ideas of how they can get involved with more play at home, but they're coming soon.
No, that's great. Thank you. Can I just say thank you on behalf of all of us here today to you, Charlotte, Gemma, Gillian, Vary, those of you that have contributed to this presentation, but actually to the whole network for the work that you're doing, supporting each other and supporting quality in the early years of Scottish education. As I say, it's absolutely inspiring, and I think, you know, one of the points that I just will make very quickly is you talked about the teacher professional standards throughout your presentation, and whilst, you know, there's very specific requirements around teacher registration in the GTCS standards, actually the skills and attributes that form those professional standards for teachers are relevant for practitioners right across the early years of education, and certainly we see parallels with, you know, standards for SSSC and so on. So it was really great to see those and look at those elements of practice that you've been developing. But as I say, we're drawing to the end of our time, and I want to say a really big thank you, and just finally to encourage everybody to go and have a look at Twitter, look at the hashtag sharing the ambition. We'll be retweeting some of Charlotte and the team's tweets through the @CAF team Twitter account, and we look forward to continuing this conversation over the days and weeks and months ahead. But thank you all so much for your presentation this afternoon.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Hello.
Hello. I'm Bree.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much to all of you for doing that.
I'm very, very grateful. I know everybody is so grateful for the opportunity to talk about something we're so passionate. Hard work has gone into. So thank you so much.
No, it's us that are saying thank you to you. It's, as I say, I mean, you could see there in the comments just how much people appreciated your presentation this afternoon. I think, you know, it really is genuinely inspiring, and you know, it's just wonderful to have an opportunity like this where we can share it with other people, because as I say, I think, you know, if you have additional colleagues joining you in your endeavours, but equally people see that model and how well it has worked for all of you, and how it has grown from very, very small beginnings to something which is now so extensive and involves so many different people who are all inspiring and supporting each other. As I say, I think it's fantastic, the work that you've done. So well done, all of you.
It's a bit of a sort of pinch yourself moment. I can't believe that I was sort of sat at my kitchen table applying for this, and now I'm here and we've just presented at the Scottish Learning Festival. It's just, yeah. Insane.
So thank you so much. So you know that the session it'll go up on the SLF website, and after that what we're sort of thinking about is whether there's elements of different things that we can use to support other pieces of work, but obviously we would be in touch with you before we did anything like that.
Amazing.
Okay, so thank you all, and just to say as well, thank you to all of your colleagues, because I know for you to be able to get along here this afternoon, that's about the whole teams that sit around you in your schools, and we really appreciate the support that you've been given to join us this afternoon as well. So thank you to everybody in your schools and settings.
I will pass that along. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.